Hello everyone, second news update for 13th of March. Now it's 15 past 7 in the evening Moscow time and I'm finally ready to record this video. I was waiting almost last 3 hours for a combined press conference of Russian President Vladimir Putin and President of Belarus Lukashenko, during the which it was obvious that journalists would ask Russian president and also president of Belarus opinion about US proposed 30-day ceasefire, and as it was predictable, question was asked and Russian president gave quite interesting answer on this question, if 30-day ceasefire is acceptable for Russia and what is Russian position in regards to this topic. And well, I made some notice for me, and so I will go through these details. First of all, Russian president thanked the president of US Donald Trump for his efforts to de-escalate the situation and to achieve a lasting peace. Russian president also thanked the leadership of other countries, first of all BRICS member states, for their efforts to de-escalate the situation, to achieve a sustainable peace in regards to Ukrainian crisis. Then Russian president went into details and he said that yes, idea is a good one to hold the hostilities for 30 days, but then he asked the question how this 30-day ceasefire will be implemented, who will control this that ceasefire is standing. After all, one should keep in mind that the line of contact is about 2,000 kilometers. So who is the neutral party that will objectively control their this line of contact and will objectively say which party is breaking the ceasefire if there is such occasions? This is a very important question, isn't it? But while answering the question, Russian president mentioned the recent talks between US delegation and delegation of Kyiv regime in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and said that formally this initiative of 30-day ceasefire is coming from US, but in reality it is a Kyiv regime that desperately needs this ceasefire based on objective reality on the ground. And Russian president stated that on the ground situation is developing very rapidly. He mentioned his visit yesterday into one of their headquarters in the Kursk region, where he was briefed about developments on the line of contact, and by Russian military leadership, from Russian military leadership, he received information that most likely Suja city, Suja town, biggest town that was occupied by invading forces in the Kursk salient area, will be liberated by tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened. Today, Russian Defense Ministry confirmed the complete liberation of the Suja and the number of surrounding villages, and Russian president obviously also confirmed this information, and he also mentioned that significant number of Kyiv regime's forces are in partial encirclement, operational encirclement, not just in Kursk salient area, but also in other sectors of the front line also. And he asked the question, what about these developments? How situation should be resolved in regards to Kursk salient area, where Kyiv regime's troops are trapped, for example, right now? There is a operational control or fire control of the Russian troops on all their roads that Kyiv regime's forces, these trapped forces, might use to retreat. And Russian president said that due to this development, Kyiv regime's forces only can escape, or at least try, on foot and in small groups. In no circumstances they'll be able to retreat on their military vehicles or any vehicles whatsoever. And if Russia, and when Russia will establish a direct physical control over their entire lines, which means a complete encirclement of the Kyiv regime's grouping of forces, remnants, whatever is remains from that group in the Kursk salient area, what will happen after that? Those units objectively speaking, will have only two options: either surrender, lay down arms and surrender, or die for interests of the Zelensky's regime and their Western masters. And Putin was asking question, if we agree on this immediate ceasefire now, what will happen in the Kursk salient area? We should allow this invading force that committed heinous crimes against civilians in the region. Nothing to be said about crime that that invasion of the Russian Federation is on itself. Should Russia allow them to leave the region without consequences, or Kiev regime will issue order for this grouping of force to lay down arms and surrender? It's an important question, isn't it? We are talking about thousands and thousands of troops of Kiev regime that if Russia will allow them to flee the region, then most likely will be deployed in other parts of the line of contact, or maybe used again to conduct some incursion into some other parts of the borderline areas. And in this regard, the Russian president also mentioned other sectors of the front line where Kiev regime situation, militarily speaking, is extremely difficult. And Russian president said, what about these other sectors of the front line where Russian troops are advancing on daily basis? What should we do in this regard? We should just allow our enemy forces to have a break, to rearm, reorganize. Is it a adequate approach, or some details have to be worked out to make sure that interests of Russia will be protected? And even though Russian president did not say directly that ceasefire will be acceptable if Kiev regime's forces will withdraw completely from new Russian regions, I guess he meant exactly that, but this is my guess, by the way. He directly didn't say that, but he highlighted the topic itself, that on the ground, situation for Kiev regime is desperate, right? And therefore, from military standpoint, it does not make sense for Russian side just to stop right now and give a break to their enemy forces. That does not work this way, right? Also, Russian president stated highlighted their mechanisms which could be used to control this almost 2,000 kilometer long line of contact. Who will control it? Which parties will participate in it, and where is the guarantees that this party will be objective one and will fix breaks of their ceasefire objectively? This is also a big question and definitely needs to be discussed in the details. And the Russian president said that topic is so complex, this topic of ceasefire, for many reasons. I just mentioned a few of them, and there are plenty more. He also mentioned that maybe he will speak with US President Donald Trump about these nuances, because idea itself of ceasefire, if it will serve interests of final resolution of this crisis, is absolutely great idea and fully acceptable for Russian side. Moscow itself was stating that yes, we are all about ending this crisis, although obviously root causes of the crisis have to be addressed in a process. Also, dear friends, Russian president stated, he highlighted another question, how these 30 days will be used by opposite side. What kind of ceasefire it is if enemy forces will rearm, reorganize, strengthen its positions or military units. So question is rising, will if some other nuances were worked out, which will obviously take time, but if some other nuances were worked out, then what about this 30-day itself? Would Kiev regime, what is the viewpoint of US? Should Kiev regime continue to receive weapons and intelligence from other side? Should Kiev regime be able to rearm, reinforce, and reorganize itself? because once again, on the ground, situation is dire for Kyiv regime, right? And it does need dreams about break, actually, isn't it? And therefore, this topic has to be also addressed to make sure that this ceasefire, if it will be implemented, would not be used as some sort of pause exactly to rearm and reorganize by the NATO member states, for example, to rearm, reorganize Kyiv regime's forces, and then to start again, right? Significant topic. What else, by the way? Yes, I guess that's about it. So, generally speaking, Russian president stated that idea is good. Moscow welcomes any steps towards final resolution of this crisis, but yet again, to implement this ceasefire, it does take time. It is a complex issue, and all the topics, all the nuances have to be worked out. Meanwhile, Russian armed forces will continue what they do quite effectively on the ground, and demilitarize and denazify enemy forces as much as possible. Today, dear friends, Russian president will have a conversation with a representative of Trump, special envoy of Trump, Wotcliffe or Wetcliffe, whatever his name is. And I guess these nuances will be discussed during this meeting with this person. Let me give you Witkoff. Yes, with this person. I guess nuances will be discussed with him also. A meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and their special envoy of US President Stefan Witkoff will be conducted without journalists, understandably so, behind the closed doors. Although maybe later on today we will have some statements from both sides. Maybe some combined press conference will take place. I have some doubts about it, but it is a possibility. Witkoff arrived in Moscow today, about early afternoon today, and he is waiting now for this meeting to take place. And I guess Witkoff will inform in details Russian president about recent talks between Washington and Kiev that took place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and maybe Witkoff will have some answers to the questions, to the concerns that Russian president highlighted today during this combined press conference with the president of Belarus, Lukashenko. So interesting developments, by the way. Obviously, entire world was waiting for a Russian reaction on this topic of 30-day ceasefire. We all notice that memo was received by so-called elites in the West, and all of them in unison was repeating this same talking point that ball is now on Russian side or something like that. It was laughable to see, by the way, when all these high-ranking officials, by the way, one after another, are repeating same talking points, by the way, which demonstrates that they are actually puppets. They are receiving orders from someone. Who the hell is that someone that has influence to tell these people that are on high-ranking positions in US, in EU member states, to say same stuff time after time after time? What the hell is going on, man? It's circus. I mean, modern Western world, collective West, is clearly some fake show, man. I mean, this is obviously a fact, right? Anyways, a world was waiting for Russian reaction, and there we go. We have Russian reaction. Moscow is all about de-escalation, all about long-lasting peace. Moscow sees a 30-day ceasefire also as a positive step if it will be achieved and implemented. Although as Russian president stated today during the press conference, there are a lot of nuances, very important details that have to be addressed before final decisions will be made, because you cannot declare that, well, from this minute, there is a ceasefire on the line of contact, we are signing decrees on that and stuff. And I mean, then question will rise, who will control? Is there really sides are obeying orders or not? And if not, which side is breaking this ceasefire? Who will control that? Also, what about the situation that are developed on the line of contact right now, when in number of areas, situation for Kyiv regime forces are dire, right? Should Russia just let these enemy forces that committed heinous crimes against civilians to flee the area without consequences? Or should Moscow demand first from these troops to lay down arms and surrender? That would be the right approach, in my personal opinion. But will Kiev or will Washington order their puppets in Kiev, or London for that matter, to actually lay down arms and surrender? At least troops that are in encirclements in many areas. And also, what about the new Russian regions? I think Kiev regime's forces have to withdraw from there. And the Russian president, even though, as I said, did not mention this directly, but I guess he meant this, right? So will Washington demand from Kiev regime to withdraw its forces from new regions? This is also an important question. Many nuances, by the way. What about weapon deliveries to Kiev regime, munition deliveries to Kiev regime, and intelligence sharing? Will it stop during this 30-day ceasefire? Or NATO will continue pouring arms and intelligence, munition to rearm, reorganize their proxy, and then start again? I mean, these questions have to be addressed, and let's see. Now, ball is on our West's side. Moscow Moscow agrees in principle, to end hostilities, but there are certain questions that need to be addressed, and let's see how West will respond now on these questions. So now we know the difference. I mean, everybody was waiting for Russian answer, and now we know what Russian answer is. I'm happy with the Russian answer. I'm not gonna lie. Some members of community here in Russia, society, were nervous that Russia may agree on this 30-day ceasefire without dealing with the questions that will rise. But no, Russia learned lessons. We all know Western ruling elite, Western so-called elites cannot be trusted, right? And definitely whatever agreement might be reached between the sides, to guarantee that this agreement will work, certain mechanisms have to be put in place, right? No one will trust Western so-called elites on their words only. Those times are gone, and for good. Hello everyone, if you find this video interesting and useful, please click that like button, leave some commentary and share with your friends. If you like my work and want to support this project, you can do it through several means. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, including links to my Patreon and Boosty pages, where you can have access to full shows in case you are interested. Thank you.